Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Oddities video. While I'm continuing to look at your new suggestions, I thought I would mix one here of my own, one that I actually read information on a recent article there on my Google News app. It's one of those things where I have thought about this topic in the past, and it finally made me realize, let me go ahead and I'll do some research into this topic. And then once I found that info, I thought, what a great way to showcase it here within this playlist. It's a topic that you've actually seen referenced within TV shows, within movies, in books and articles as well, as I was just mentioning. And the info related to it is quite surprising. Next time you see it referenced, you'll have now in the back of your head the info ready to showcase and tell to anyone else too. But it has to do with the topic of this. Why are we referencing ships essentially as she, like in other words, as female? And so I'm going to give those various reasons. There's not 100% one smoking gun reason, but there's various versions of them. And then let's see which one you decide is the best one. And then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it too. So let's go ahead and let's share that information here. For starters, isn't that something unique, right? Now that you think about it and you have it fresh in your head, watch a movie next time or read a book or TV show, whatever. And anytime there's a ship, even a starship that's being referenced, you'll see the words she place for the ship. Most commonly nowadays, it's cruise ships, for example, that are referenced as that. But any other types of ship today are also there too, referenced in that female term, and it seems to be more along the lines of a North American term as well. Some of you that are international, let me know, point it down in the comments if in your country it's also referenced with the ships being as female as well. Now, the origins associated with it date back a long time, too far back, in other words, to pinpoint to a specific time period. Let's just say once ships essentially started to go into the actual sea, that's essentially when it first started. But the reasons are loose. Again, nothing 100% given as to one single solid reason as to why, but there's two of them that stand out, two of them that actually go by a more pronounced set of versions. Before I mention those, I thought in my case, the reason why ships were referenced as female is because there's a lot of guys, obviously, that drive those ships, that essentially move them through the waters. And just like guys today involving trucks, involving cars, involving other possessions that they have, boys and their toys type stuff, there's a lot of referencing to calling those devices as female, calling them as she, even naming them after a female as well. And I think that's because there's a lot of love associated with those devices. Like, in other words, it's protective. It's making sure that those items, like my baby, like my car, in other words, I call her Iris. I make sure that she's well kept, taken care of, and that everything is good in terms of her conditions and making sure that everything is tip-top shape when it comes to the engine and so on. It's just more of a protective stance. That's what I thought, at least. But these are the two other reasons, the two more probable ones that come into play that kind of sync up to what I was just mentioning, but at the same time not. Here's what I mean. One of the main reasons is this. The word ship actually comes from the Latin word navis, which is actually derived from a female stance. So in other words, it's linked to a female status. I did not know that. Like, I didn't know that the word ship comes from navis, which is again linked to female. So essentially that's why one that stands out most when it comes to the reason of ships today being referred to as she. And then the other reason is this. Apparently, again, way back when ships were first being sent off into the sea, the idea was that the sea had goddesses around it. Like, in other words, there were various goddesses throughout various portions of bodies of water throughout the world. And when that was happening, they in turn protected the ship. And it was thought by the people, the guys that were moving the ships around, that the ship itself must be female because the goddesses are protecting those ships as well. So that's, again, the other primary reason associated with it. Some of the looser reasons come from this as well. Once again, back in the early days, and even in some cases now, many ships are commanded and then also crewed by a multitude of primarily men. They're out there in the sea, and when that happens, they spend months, if not years, out there just by themselves. And so when that happens, they named them, or it was named after a female stance, like in other words, a female name or a female in general, because it was more along the lines of a motherly figure. That's new to me too, as well, when I was reading that information. The notion is this: the ship is there to protect the men. Obviously, it protects them from the outside elements, like in this case, storms or some other type of calamity associated with the weather, and it also protects them, obviously, from the sea itself. Like, in other words, making sure that they don't drown and that they make it safely from point A to point B, all the while making sure that they do their regular jobs, whatever it is they're doing, whether they're protecting some kind of borders or whether they're transporting some kind of cargo. And so it's a considered more along the lines of a motherly figure or motherly companion. So that's again one of the looser reasons associated with it. There's also another reason as to this. There's a superstition that placing any ship with a female or she designation makes it more protective as well. So it's bad luck, in other words. If you're not naming it after a lady, if you're not calling it she, in other words, then you're going to start off already with some bad luck with that ship. And so that's why the tradition still sticks to this day. Again, no one knows exactly who started it, when that started, but that's essentially what some of those reasons are as to why ships to this day have that type of term. And again, it kind of ties into what I was mentioning at the beginning as far as my reason. I think it's because, too, you want to make sure that the ship is well served, like in other words, everything is well maintained, and guys will make sure that that's done with any kind of equipment that's handed to them, those that care, at least with regards to whatever type of technology it is. So in that case, I think that's why they also have that specific term. Like in other words, it's female, it's a she, or other type of female name. Some of the other looser reasons are this too. You've seen those images as well. Anytime that you have a ship that's being set off for sale for the very first time, you have those images, either photographs or maybe even some old videos like show or footage showcasing women blessing the ship. Like in other words, they're taking that classic bottle of wine or champagne and then breaking it against the actual ship, and that's mainly to bless the ship, and then serving as quote unquote godmothers for the new ship, the one that's about to basically go out into the sea. Now, where things change a little bit differently is obviously when it comes to warships. That's where things take a 180-degree turn. You see a lot of those ships named after men, specifically warships, in other words, those giant ships with those giant guns ready to do battle. They're commonly named after presidents, for example, but very rarely, again, do you see anything involving the line of a female connotation, like something associated with a female name or something else like a term involving she. In this case, you still have more involving men for that. It's kind of weird, right? When you think about it, everything is a-okay on other types of ships, but warships, that's where it changes. And then even then, other different parts of the world that have the completely different stance. They'll name any of their ships more along the lines with a male connotation, a he, something along those lines. So that's where things just turn completely different in other parts of the world too. But let me know what you guys think. Those are some of the main and then looser reasons, and including mine, why I think that happens with regards to ships. And then to this day as well, things are kind of tiptoeing towards the different level. Nowadays, lots of print and other articles and other references on TV and so on, they're referring more along the lines of ships being it. So no male, no female, but instead more on the lines of it, just as a regular piece of equipment rather than something involving, let's say, a person, something along those lines too. So that's changing little by little as well to this very day. But let me know what you guys think. Post those comments below. And again, those of you that are in different parts of the world and where it's more along the lines of it being reference for ships being female or reference for ships being male, let me know, because I know I do see again on my YouTube app and the studio app, and it showcases the types of viewers that I have, what countries they're from. In other words, I do see many countries, so I'd love to hear what your connotations are for that too. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.